Welcome, everyone. I'm absolutely thrilled you're here today for this explainer. Because, guys, we are diving into a topic that literally bends the mind. We're talking about the fascinating logic behind disappearing locations, unseen horizons, and maps that are, well, intentionally incomplete. Think about it. We spend our whole lives completely trusting the lines drawn for us, right? We just assume the world has been perfectly measured and cataloged. But what if the world is actually larger than our maps? All right, let's just jump right into this with a riddle that kind of perfectly sets the stage for our journey today. Here it is. If 7 cartographers draw the same island and no one can find it, who is wrong? Is it the cartographers or is it the map? It's a question that completely defies modern geography because, how can an impossible piece of land be logged by completely independent experts, yet hold literally nothing but open water when you actually try to sail out there? Section 1. The illusion of certainty. So, to answer that question, we've got to start our journey into the unknown. We all place this absolute foundational trust in official maps and navigation charts. A map is basically a promise, right? It tells us exactly where the hazards are, where the safe harbors lie, and what reality actually looks like. But what happens when someone whose entire life relies on that certainty finds a massive crack in it? Enter Thomas Hale. Thomas is a retired United States Coast Guard officer. For 32 years, he trusted the charts to keep him and his crews safe. The guy knew the Gulf of Mexico like the back of his hand. But one day, while he's just volunteering at a maritime archive, his unwavering certainty in the rules of the sea gets completely shattered. He stumbles across this old, faded 1962 chart that was slated to be thrown away. And right there on the paper is an island, located about 40 miles west of Tarpon Springs, Florida. The catch here? That island doesn't exist on any modern map, radar, or satellite imagery. None.
Naturally, Thomas assumes, this 1962 chart is just a simple drafting error. Somebody made a mistake. But as he dives deeper into the archives, he finds a pattern. He uncovers a second chart from 1978 showing the exact same island. Then he finds another one from 1991. We're talking different decades here, different survey crews, different hands drawing the lines, and yet they all logged the exact same island in the exact same empty stretch of the Gulf. So this definitely wasn't just some one-time mistake.
Now, what really hooks Thomas, and honestly this is where it gets crazy, is a tiny, cryptic note he finds written really neatly in the margin of one of the charts. It's just 6 words. Crossing possible at dawn. No attached report, no further explanation. Just that. So the absolute crucial takeaway here is that this note implies the island isn't missing, and it definitely isn't a mistake. Instead, this island is actually acting under a very specific set of rules. Section 2. Chasing the Impossible Island. A note like that is a bell you just can't unring. Thomas decides to do what, frankly, any deeply curious person would do. He rents a small center console boat, shoves the coordinates into his jacket pocket, and literally sails out into the Gulf toward a spot that officially holds absolutely nothing. He hits the coordinates right as dawn is breaking over the water, and at first, nothing. Just open ocean, exactly like you'd expect. But then, as he's staring out across the water, a secondary horizon appears. It's this faint, dark line emerging right where the sky touches the water. He raises his binoculars and, for just a moment, he actually witnesses a distant shoreline, low hills, scattered trees, an impossible landmass that forms and then simply vanishes. Almost like the ocean just erased it. He is absolutely stunned, and right as he's trying to process what he just saw, static suddenly fills the cabin of his boat. His marine radio, which, by the way, isn't even turned on, starts broadcasting. This warm, calm voice breaks right through the white noise and addresses him directly. The voice says, "Good afternoon, cartographer. We were beginning to wonder if you'd make the trip." Yeah, it's pirate radio, transmission 039. This right here is the ultimate realization for Thomas, and honestly, a massive turning point for our understanding of all this. That radio transmission hands him the missing piece of the puzzle. The map isn't wrong, the timing is. These locations aren't being hidden from satellites by some crazy high-tech cloaking field or anything like that. They simply only exist, or I should say, they're only accessible under highly precise temporal conditions. Section 3. Other unseen realities. But here's the thing. Thomas's Island isn't an isolated incident. There's actually a much wider pattern happening all along the Gulf Coast, a whole network of anomalous local phenomena tied to these exact same strange rules. Take Beacon 7, for example. a maritime maintenance worker named Daniel gets this routine work order to inspect it, about 12 miles offshore. When he gets there, he finds this perfectly maintained, completely unlisted lighthouse that is totally missing from every official Coast Guard database. The metal door simply reads, "Welcome back." Inside, the place is spotless. But what really chills Daniel to the bone is the maintenance logbook. It contains entries written from the future. Literally, he finds a log explicitly dated August 17, 2031, which notes the successful broadcast of pirate radio transmission 024. And get this, once Daniel gets back to shore, the work order, the coordinates, and the beacon's entire digital footprint just vanish completely. And it's not just the ocean either. Then we have the sky itself. Consider this bizarre phenomenon experienced by a late-night driver named Ethan. He's heading northbound on US 19, and his car radio suddenly shifts to static before picking up pirate radio transmission 001. That same comm voice tells him there's a 12% chance of impossible celestial events tonight, and it advises him to look toward the eastern horizon at exactly 2:07 a.m. So Ethan looks up, and he sees this absolutely beautiful, watercolor-like second moon floating right above the normal one. He said it didn't look scary at all. It looked like it belonged there. And as the radio starts playing this EDM track from out of nowhere, that second moon just quietly fades away. So when we bring all these clues together, a much wider pattern starts to emerge. Whether we're looking at Thomas Hale's Island, Daniel's Beacon 7, or Ethan's second moon, we're seeing the exact same underlying logic at play. They all feature intermittent visibility. They all require exact timing or incredibly unique conditions just to be experienced. And fundamentally, every single one of them features a persistent connection to broadcasts from pirate radio. Section 4. Deciphering the Lucid Divide. So, what exactly is the unseen architecture connecting all these impossible places? Well, remember those old charts Thomas was looking at? He actually finds a final, tiny margin note hidden on his map. It reads, "Maps describe places. Cartographers describe possibilities." And wow, that completely shifts our understanding. It's essentially telling us to stop looking at maps as these strict, unbending records of a fixed reality, and to start seeing them as invitations to realities that might only briefly align with our own. Which brings us to a truly crucial concept, one mentioned by pirate radio and written right there on the charts: the Lucid Divide. We can basically define the Lucid Divide as the unseen threshold between our known official reality and these intermittent, extraordinary locations. It's that liminal space where secondary horizons form, where unlisted lighthouses stand, and where impossible celestial events reveal themselves. But only to those who happen to be looking at the exact right time. Let's break down the core logic of these disappearing locations for a second, because it really shows why this mystery survives and why it's just so compelling. First off, certainty is a harbor, but wonder is the tide, meaning the world is quite simply larger than the boundaries we draw. Second, not every destination is actually meant to appear on every map. Third, the map is really just a starting point. It's an invitation, not the whole story. And finally, the most mind-bending point of all, the island doesn't move, Beacon 7 doesn't move. We move into alignment with them, crossing the Lucid Divide only when the timing is absolutely perfect. Section 5. What is your theory? You know, a mystery this elegant is ultimately about how you personally view the horizon. At the end of his journey out there, Thomas Hale turns his boat around, and as he's sailing back toward the safe, predictable harbor he knows so well, he looks over his shoulder one last time. And for just a brief second, he spots the dark silhouette of a lighthouse standing on a distant shoreline, exactly where that island was supposed to be. He doesn't turn the boat around. He doesn't try to solve every single secret. He just sails home, smiling. He never stops being a cartographer, but he finally accepts that mystery exists, and that there are, for sure, still secrets left to find on the very edges of the map. And that brings me to you. Based on the disappearing island, the maintenance logs from 2031, and those eerie pirate radio broadcasts tying the whole shebang together, what do you think the Lucid Divide actually is? Is it some sort of tear in time, a parallel space, or maybe just a beautiful reminder that not everything extraordinary is meant to be permanent? I really want you to think about that the next time you're driving late at night or just looking out across the open water. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep your curiosity alive, and remember, not every destination is on the map. See you next time.